I was born fat. Before prom started, everyone was asking each other to be their date. Someone shoved me toward Nicholas Reed and shouted for us to get together. My face turned red, and I stumbled right into the arms of my tall, handsome childhood friend. But Nicholas shoved me hard to the floor like he had touched something filthy. "You disgusting fat pig, don't touch me. Gross. If I didn't feel sorry for you getting bullied, I wouldn't even bother with you." The whole class laughed at me. Austin Walker, the star quarterback on the football team, helped me up from the floor. "Nicholas Reed. Do you really think everyone in the world is as blind as you?" The whole room went silent in an instant. He lowered his head and glanced at me, looking too serious for it to be a joke. "Serena Hayes, you'll be beautiful once you lose weight." Nicholas let out a sneer. "If she looks even half as good as the cheer captain after losing weight, I'll livestream myself eating crap." He looked at my dress, which had split at the seams. "But, well, this sow's biggest hobby is eating, so there's no way she can lose weight." Another round of laughter broke out around us. I covered my torn dress, looked at him, and all 12 years of my crush vanished in that moment. That night, after I got home, I stood in front of the mirror and looked at myself. 5'9", 250 pounds. I wrote down a plan in my notebook. First, lose weight. Second, change my college application and stop going to Harvard University with him. LOL, the toad really wants to eat swan meat. She's 250 pounds and still dares to like Nicholas. Where does she get the courage? My classmates' mocking did not stop. Chloe Summers, the queen bee, laughed the loudest and deliberately picked up a plate piled high with cream cake. Then she pressed the plate into my face. Cream smeared all over my face. "Serena, don't be sad. Eat more, just like a pig eating feed. Once you're full, you won't be sad anymore." Someone chimed in, "Serena, if you want a boyfriend, you might as well find a boar." The prom exploded with laughter again. Nicholas held a glass of champagne, the remnants of mockery still hanging at the corner of his mouth, as if none of this had anything to do with him. Austin Walker, the star quarterback, frowned and glanced at him, but said nothing more. Instead, Chloe Summers, who was standing beside Nicholas, leaned over and whispered something. Nicholas gave a low laugh, as if he were sneering. I wiped the cream from my face and stood up. "I'm leaving first." Chloe immediately put on a caring expression. "Serena, don't be mad, we were really just joking." I ignored her, got up, and walked out. When I passed by Nicholas, he did not even lift his head and was still chatting with Chloe. I stopped. Nicholas Reed. He finally looked up at me, with a trace of impatience in his eyes. "What?" I looked at him. I remembered when we were 6, when he moved next door to my house and scraped his knee on the very first day. I was the one who carried him on my back and took him to the neighborhood clinic. Back then, he smiled at me, even though I was already chubby. That one smile stayed with me for 12 years. "Every word you said today," I said very softly, "one day, you'll regret it." He raised an eyebrow and sneered without taking me seriously. "Me, regret it? Fat ass, in this life I did not listen to the rest and pushed the door open. The hallway was very quiet. My hands were shaking, but my tears did not fall. It was not that it did not hurt. It hurt too much, so much that I could not cry. My best friend Nina chased after me and grabbed my wrist. "Serena, I'll go back right now and help you." "Nina," I cut her off, my voice hoarse, "walk with me." The sunset stretched our shadows very long. I walked a long way before I spoke. He's right. I really am 250 pounds right now. But he said I'll never lose weight in this lifetime. I'm going to lose it just to show him. Nina bit her lip and said nothing, only holding my hand even tighter. When I got home that night, everyone was asleep. I stood alone in front of the mirror. My frame clearly was not small, but it was completely buried under fat. My face was as round as a big ball of dough, and I had 3 full layers of chin. But when I leaned closer, my eye shape was pretty. My nose bridge was high. The little mole at the corner of my eye looked like it had been drawn on. Austin Walker's words echoed in my ears. "Serena Hayes, you'll be beautiful once you lose weight." Was it true? I did not know. But tonight, I made 2 decisions. First, lose weight, with a goal of 110 pounds. Second, cancel my Harvard University application. I opened my laptop and logged into the application system. On the screen, Harvard University's admission confirmation page glowed quietly. The mouse hovered over decline offer. Nicholas's words seemed to ring in my ears again. "You disgusting fat pig, don't touch me. Gross." I did not hesitate again. I clicked decline. Then I wrote another application email. It was to Stanford University, more than 1,000 miles away from Boston. Because of Nicholas, I had never even looked at it before. For him, I applied to law, a major I did not like. Now, I chose the major I liked and clicked send. Thanks to my excellent grades, the other side soon sent me an admission notice. I clicked accept and closed my laptop. But my heart felt lighter than ever. Starting today, I would no longer live for Nicholas Reed. I would live for myself. At 5 the next morning, when the alarm rang, the sky was still dark. I put on my sneakers, went out, and took a jump rope to the community square. On the first day, I only jumped 200 times before I was panting like I was about to die. On the third day, I increased it to 500, and my calves were so sore they trembled when I went upstairs. On the fifth day, after jumping 1,000 times, I leaned over a trash can and threw up. But I never stopped for even one day. On the evening of the sixth day, I was stretching downstairs when Nicholas came back from playing soccer outside. He held a soccer ball and looked me up and down. "Why are you covered in sweat?" I did not speak and kept stretching my leg. He walked over and leaned against the wall, saying casually, "A classmate saw you jumping rope to lose weight?" I still said nothing. He kept talking to himself, his tone carrying that careless certainty he always had. "If you really want to lose weight, get a gym membership. Jumping rope alone won't do much. With your weight, never mind." After a pause, he added, "By the way, did you get your Harvard University admission letter?" Mine arrived. My hand paused for a moment. He thought I was still going to Harvard University. Everyone thought so. I straightened up and walked into the building with no expression on my face. Behind me, he shouted, "Did you get it or not?" The building door closed, cutting off his voice. As I went upstairs, the corner of my mouth actually curved slightly. "Nicholas Reed, take your time waiting. When October 3rd comes, you'll know." On the 8th night, someone posted a video in the class group chat. It was footage of me jumping rope in the community square. Heavy panting, soaked clothes, jumping once and stopping once, and my fat shaking non-stop with every rise and fall. The person filming had deliberately chosen the ugliest angle. "I'm dying, ha 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 ha." Serena Hayes really started losing weight. Nicholas's words really hit her hard, huh? Austin said she'd look good after losing weight. I couldn't see any potential in that face even with a magnifying glass. Chloe Summers, "Serena, good luck. Anyway, there are tons of pretty girls at Harvard Law, so if you don't lose a little weight, you'll seriously feel inferior once school starts." Nicholas also came out and sent a message. My heart jumped. He said, "Stop posting stuff like this. Are you all children?" Someone teased him, "Nicholas, are you feeling sorry for her?" He replied, "Are you guys bored? What does her losing weight have to do with me? I never liked her. What did it have to do with him?" Right, it never had anything to do with him. I liked him for 12 years, and he said it had nothing to do with him. Fine. From now on, it really would have nothing to do with you. I left the class group chat. I opened Nina's chat box. "I'm going to stay at my grandma's place until school starts. Keep it a secret for me. If anyone asks, say you don't know. Nina, leave it to me. But you have to promise me you'll come back alive." I smiled and typed an okay. Then I opened Nicholas's chat box. I looked at all the messages I had sent him over the past 3 years. "My mom made apple pie today. Want to come over? It's raining on the way home. I brought you an umbrella. Good night." Every single one had been read and ignored. On the rare occasions he replied, it was always got it, or stop bothering me. I took a deep breath. Delete friend. No hesitation. Early the next morning, I dragged my suitcase downstairs. Downstairs, I ran into Nicholas's mom. "Serena, where are you going?" "To my grandma's place for a while. Then when Nicholas comes to your house for dinner later." "Mrs. Reed," I smiled, "Nicholas is already an adult, so there's no need to trouble my mom anymore." When I carried my suitcase out of the community, a window opened behind me. I knew it was Nicholas's room. But I did not look back. Not even once. My grandma lived on a farm in the countryside, where the phone signal had only one bar and there was almost no Wi-Fi. On the first day I arrived, I locked my phone in a cabinet. Every day, I got up at 5 to jump rope. In the morning, I power walked along the wooded trail outside the farm. In the afternoon, I helped my grandma prune fruit trees, move hay, and take care of the horses. The meal plan Grandma made for me was chicken breast with roasted vegetables, rotating between oatmeal, brown rice, and sweet potatoes. In the first week, I lost 6 pounds, down to 194 pounds. In the second week, I lost 5 pounds, down to 189 pounds. Starting from the third week, the weight dropped more slowly, so I added 2,000 extra jumps every day and one set of strength training. In the fourth week, I was 180 pounds. In 1 month, I had lost a full 20 pounds. There were changes in the mirror, but they were not obvious enough. My face was not as round anymore, but my jawline was still blurry, and my body was loose and sagging like deflated dough. I did not waver at all. Continue. In the fifth week, I was 173 pounds. In the sixth week, I was 166 pounds. I turned on my phone for the first time. Dozens of messages flooded in. Nina's messages. Nicholas came to me. He asked where you went. I played dumb. He asked again today. He even asked if you changed your number. Ha 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 ha, guess what he said? He said, "She's definitely just throwing a tantrum. She'll be back in a couple days." I let out a sneer. Throwing a tantrum? Nicholas Reed, you really think too highly of yourself. I kept scrolling. Nina had sent more. He's getting closer and closer to Chloe Summers. Today Chloe posted a photo of them playing ball together. Everyone in the group is saying they might be together. I looked at that message. Then I waited for my heart's reaction. Unexpectedly, there was nothing. It did not hurt anymore. It really did not hurt anymore. I turned off my phone and kept training. In the 7th week, I was 158 pounds. In the 8th week, I was 150 pounds. The changes in the mirror started becoming dramatic. My jawline emerged sharply, my cheekbones became clear, and my whole face looked as if it had been carved all over again. My body proportions began to show, my collarbones came out, and the lines of my legs changed from thick to long and lean. But it was still not enough. I knew the best version of myself had not appeared yet. Continue. In the 9th week, I was 142 pounds. When I went to the pharmacy in town to buy medicine for Grandma, the girl behind the counter froze when she took the prescription. She stared at my face for a long time. You look like some movie star. I can't remember who right now. Grandma quickly pulled me away. After we got home, Grandma sat on the porch rocking chair and worried. Your mother was like this back then too. She was chubby as a kid, and no one paid attention to her. Then she suddenly slimmed down, and the whole high school went crazy. You're even more dramatic than your mother. I thought Grandma was exaggerating too much. In the 10th week, I was 135 pounds. I turned on my phone for the second time. Nina's latest message. Nicholas told me to tell you that if you don't join the Harvard freshman group soon, it'll be too late. His exact words were, is she still throwing a tantrum? Tell her I won't pay attention to her when the time comes, so she shouldn't get her hopes up. I looked at this sentence and could not help laughing. Even now, he still thought I would go to Harvard University. He still thought I would chase after him like I used to. Nicholas Reed, what kind of dream are you living in? I replied to Nina. Don't tell anyone I went to Stanford University to study computer science. Including him. Let him find out himself. Nina replied. Okay. I can't wait to see his face. In the 11th week, I was 125 pounds. Grandma officially forbade me from going out alone. When you went to town to buy things the day before yesterday, those college boys in the supermarket kept following you. Did you know that? It can't be that serious, right? Go look in the mirror yourself. I went to look. Then I fell silent. In the mirror was a face, even I found unfamiliar. A height of 5'9" and a weight of 125 pounds had released every advantage of my bone structure. My features looked delicate, as if someone had drawn them stroke by stroke. The corners of my eyes tilted slightly upward, my eyes were a pale blue, and my lips were a very light rose color. My collarbones looked like butterfly wings, and my waist looked small enough to hold in one hand. The mole at the corner of my eye was like the final stroke, pushing my whole face from pretty to stunning. I stared for a long time. So what Austin Walker said was true. In the 12th week, I was 110 pounds. Grandma stood behind me and let out a long sigh. What a sin. Your parents spent more than 10 years fattening you up, and now it's all wasted. I finally could not hold back. What are you all talking about? What happened to me when I was little? Grandma shook her head and refused to say. She only muttered. After school starts, wear a hat and sunglasses. Don't cause trouble. I replied, okay. But in my heart, I thought. Nicholas Reed, on October 3rd, you will look for me in the crowd of freshmen checking in at Harvard University. You will search every classroom in the law school. You will go through every freshman list. But you will never find the name Serena Hayes. Because I am no longer there. I will never stand behind you again. The day before school started. Nina sent me a string of screenshots. They were chat records from the high school class group. Chloe Summers had posted a photo of herself and Nicholas standing at the Harvard University gate. She leaned against his shoulder and smiled brightly, with the caption. Thank God you're here with me. A bunch of people teased them underneath. Perfect match. Harvard University's best couple. Nicholas also rarely showed up, and his tone was very relaxed. Don't talk nonsense. We're friends. Then someone asked. Hey, where's Serena Hayes? Didn't she also apply to Harvard Law? Why haven't we seen her among the freshmen? Chloe replied instantly. Maybe she's still losing weight, ha ha ha. After all, there are plenty of pretty girls in law school. If she shows up at 250 pounds. A string of laughing crying emojis followed. Nicholas's reply came right after. She's probably still throwing a tantrum. She'll be here in a couple days. Someone chimed in. Nicholas, you know her pretty well. He replied. We grew up together. How could I not know what she's like? She'll calm down after making a fuss for a couple days. I stared at that sentence for a long time. How could I not know what she's like? Nicholas Reed. You really do not understand me at all. You do not know I have already slimmed down to 110 pounds. You do not know I am already in California, 3,000 miles away. And you know even less that the Serena Hayes who used to chase after you is long dead. I closed the screenshots and calmly packed the clothes I would wear tomorrow. White shirt, black suit pants, blonde hair. That was enough. September 1st. Stanford University Freshman Welcome Ceremony. The campus main auditorium was full of freshmen. The freshman representative speech for the School of Computer Science was scheduled for last. I was the last person to go on stage. Backstage was noisy, and the students in front of me were so nervous their palms were sweating. Instead, I was very calm. 5'9". 110 pounds. My white shirt was tucked into high-waisted trousers, and below my waistline, it was all legs. When the staff member in charge of the microphone adjusted the equipment for me, they could not help freezing for a moment. "You're a freshman from the School of Computer Science?" I smiled and said nothing. The last thought that passed through my mind was, Nicholas Reed was probably still waiting in the Harvard freshman group to see my name. Then keep waiting. Next, please welcome the freshman representative of the School of Computer Science, Serena Hayes. I stepped into the lights and walked onto the stage. The moment the spotlight fell on me, thousands of people in the audience lost their voices at the same time. It was not silence. It was suffocation. As if everyone had forgotten how to breathe at the same time. 5'9". 110 pounds. White shirt, black trousers, ponytail. No heavy makeup, no fancy dress. Only a clean, simple face. And the tiny mole at the corner of my eye. I walked step by step to the podium. The silence lasted 3 seconds. Then the auditorium seemed to explode. Screams, applause, and whistles rose one after another. They mixed together, shaking the whole auditorium with echoes. Someone stood up. 1 row. 2 rows. 10 rows. People in the back kept raising their phones to take photos. When I reached the podium, I stood still. I tilted my head slightly. The light covered my whole body. I smiled. The shutter sounds were as dense as a rainstorm. I suddenly remembered what Nicholas said at prom 3 months ago. She'll never lose weight in this lifetime. If she looks even half as good as the cheer captain after losing weight, I'll livestream myself eating crap. At this moment, I stood before thousands of freshmen. I stood where the spotlight was brightest. Nicholas Reed. You owe me an apology. But I no longer need it. After the welcome ceremony ended, Nina's messages hit me like bombs. Your photos are being shared everywhere online. I can't hold it in anymore, I'm posting them in the class group. I had not even had time to reply. She had already posted them. In the screenshot was her caption. At everyone Nicholas Reed, you said if she looked half as good as the cheer captain after losing weight, you'd livestream yourself eating crap. Come on. Take a look. Is this enough to be half? The photo was taken at the welcome ceremony just now. Under the lights. White shirt, black trousers, the moment I tilted my head. 5'9". 110 pounds. A mole at the corner of my eye. Then the group exploded. Messages flooded the screen like a tidal wave. Who is this? Is this Serena Hayes? No way. This isn't Harvard University. It's photoshopped, right? Wait, is this Stanford? At Nicholas Reed, where are you? Come out. Do you admit what you said or not? The air in Cambridge, Massachusetts, was already carrying the sharp, damp bite of early autumn. Outside the tall, ivy-choked windows of a local coffee shop. Near Harvard Yard, the red brick sidewalks were slick with a sudden evening drizzle. Inside, Nicholas Reed sat at a corner table, a half-empty cup of espresso growing cold between his hands. Across from him, Chloe Summers was scrolling through her phone, her fingers tipped with perfectly manicured acrylics, her voice a steady, high-pitched hum of gossip about their new classmates. I'm telling you, Nick, the girls in the pre-law society are so incredibly dry. Chloe said, tossing her blonde curls. They have absolutely no style. One of them actually wore a polyester blazer to the mixer. Polyester. Can you believe? She stopped. Nicholas didn't look up. He was staring at his phone, his thumb hovering over the screen. His high school class group chat was a cascade of notifications. Scrolling upward so fast the text blurred. Who is this? Is this a joke? Is that actually Serena Hayes? Wait, someone look at the background. That's the Stanford Memorial Church. She's in California? Holy crap, she's gorgeous. Look at those legs. Nicholas's breath caught in his throat. His chest felt tight, as if the air in the small cafe had suddenly turned to lead. He clicked on the photo that Nina had posted. It was a high-resolution shot, likely taken by a campus photographer or a student with a professional lens. Under the brilliant, warm stage lights of the Stanford auditorium, a girl stood behind a podium. She wore a simple, crisp White button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up to her elbows, tucked into tailored black trousers that hugged a pair of impossibly long, slender legs. Her blonde hair was pulled back into a high, sleek ponytail, revealing a sharp, clean jawline, a high-bridged nose, and pale, striking eyes that seemed to look right through the camera. And there, just below the outer corner of her left eye, was a tiny, dark mole. It was a mark he had seen 1,000 times. He had seen it when they were 8. When she sat on his porch sharing a melting popsicle. He had seen it when they were 15, when she sat next to him in the library, her round, doughy face flushed as she helped him study for his AP history exam. But this wasn't the girl he remembered. The girl in the photo carried herself with an effortless, quiet authority. She didn't look like she was hiding. She didn't look like she was waiting for his approval. Nick? Are you even listening to me? Chloe's voice broke through his trance, sharp with irritation. She leaned over, trying to peer at his screen. What are you looking at that so? She froze. Her eyes locked onto the screen, widening in a mixture of disbelief and instant, toxic jealousy. Who is that? Chloe whispered, her hand dropping to the table. Is that, no. It's photoshopped. It has to be. Look at her waist. Nobody loses that much weight in 3 months. She probably went to one of those sketchy clinics in Mexico and got half her body sucked out. Nicholas didn't answer. His thumb scrolled down to the comments in the group chat. At Nicholas Reed, where are you? Come out. Do you admit what you said or not? Nicholas, didn't you say you'd live stream yourself eating crap if she looked half as good as the cheer captain? Bro, she looks 10 times better than Chloe. She's at Stanford. Computer science. She didn't even go to Harvard. She didn't go to Harvard. The realization hit Nicholas like a physical blow. For the past 3 years, they had talked about Harvard. He had complained about how competitive the admissions were, and she had quietly stayed up with him, editing his essays, keeping him company over video calls while he drank coffee. She had applied to Harvard Law solely because he wanted to go there. He had assumed her absence from the freshman orientation groups was just her being stubborn. She's throwing a tantrum, he had told everyone. She'll show up. She always does. But she hadn't. She had declined her offer. She had packed her bags, crossed the country, and completely erased him from her future. Nick, Chloe said, her voice rising, tinged with a desperate edge. Say something. It's obviously a fake. She was 250 pounds, Nick. You saw her at the prom. Her dress literally split open. You can't look like that. After 3 months. It's not fake, Nicholas said, his voice barely a whisper. He closed the group chat and opened his direct messages with Serena. The small gray circle where her profile picture used to be was blank. He typed a message. Serena, is this real? Why didn't you tell me you went to Stanford? He hit send. A red exclamation mark appeared next to the bubble. Failed to send. You are no longer connected with this user. He tried to call. A pre-recorded operator's voice chimed in instantly. The number you have dialed is currently unavailable. Nicholas slowly lowered the phone. The espresso on the table was completely cold. He looked out the window at the rain, a strange, hollow ache opening up in the center of his chest. For 12 years, Serena Hayes had been a constant, quiet gravity in his life. No matter how much he ignored her, no matter how harsh his words were, she was always there, waiting next door, holding an umbrella, sending a goodnight text. Now, the space next to him was entirely empty, and for the first time in his life, Nicholas Reed felt a cold, creeping sense of panic. In Stanford, California, the sun was bright and the air smelled of eucalyptus and warm asphalt. Serena walked out of the gate's computer science building, her laptop tucked under her arm. The heat of the afternoon settled comfortably on her bare shoulders. She was wearing a simple dark green tank top and denim shorts. 3 months ago, the thought of wearing shorts in public would have given her a panic attack. Now, she didn't even think about it. Her legs were lean and toned, her skin glowing from the hours she spent running along the wooded trails near her grandmother's farm. Serena. She turned. Jogging across the grass from the direction of the athletic fields was Austin Walker. He was wearing his red Stanford football practice jersey, his helmet slung over his shoulder. Sweat glistened on his forehead, and his dark hair was messy, but he had a wide, easy grin on his face. Hey, quarterback, Serena smiled, stopping under the shade of a palm tree. Shouldn't you be in film study? Just finished, Austin said, breathing easily as he stopped in front of her. He looked down at her, his eyes warm and completely steady. He had always been Tall, but up close, his broad shoulders and athletic build made Serena feel small, in a way that didn't make her feel insecure, but protected. I saw the photos from the freshman ceremony. You practically shut down the campus forum. Serena's cheeks flushed slightly. Nina posted them. I told her not to, but she said she couldn't help herself. She did the right thing, Austin said softly. He stepped a little closer, the shadow of his tall frame shielding her from the bright sun. I told you, didn't I? I told you you'd be beautiful. You did, Serena said, looking up into his dark brown eyes. But honestly, Austin, it's not just about how I look. It's the fact that I can run 5 miles without feeling like my lungs are collapsing. It's the fact that I don't have to hide behind baggy sweaters anymore. I know, Austin said, his tone turning serious, respectful. I saw how hard you worked. Most people just talk about changing. You actually did it. In silence. 2. He reached out, his large, warm hand gently tapping the corner of her shoulder. Some of the guys on the team were asking about the mystery CS freshman who gave the speech. I told them to back off. Serena raised an eyebrow, a playful glint in her eyes. Oh. And why is that? Because, Austin said, his grin returning, I saw you first. Even when you were 250 pounds, I knew you had the heart of a champion. Now, I'm just waiting for my turn to ask you out on a proper date. Serena's heart skipped a beat. Unlike Nicholas, who had always treated her like an embarrassing secret, Austin was entirely open. He didn't care about what others thought. He had helped her up from the floor when the entire class was laughing at her. He had seen her at her absolute lowest, and he had never looked at her with disgust. A proper date, huh? Serena murmured, her smile widening. Let me finish my first coding project, and we'll talk. It's a deal, Austin said. He tapped his helmet against his leg. I gotta run to the locker room. See you at the diner tonight? Yeah. See you there. As Austin walked away, Serena watched his retreating figure. She felt a profound sense of peace. The heavy, suffocating weight of her childhood crush was gone. Replaced by something light, exciting, and entirely clean. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from Nina. Nina, Serena. You won't believe this. Nicholas's mom called my mom today. She was asking if you really went to Stanford. Apparently, Nicholas has been locked in his room at Harvard, barely eating, and his grades on his first few mock trials were terrible. He's completely losing his mind. Serena stared at the screen for a moment. She didn't feel angry. She didn't feel a rush of petty triumph. She simply felt nothing. She typed back, tell your mom to tell her that I'm busy with classes. I don't have time to worry about people from high school. She locked her phone, threw it into her backpack, and walked toward the library. The autumn wind of Northern California was warm, and the future stretched out before her, bright and entirely hers to write. 2 months passed in a blur of rigorous academic pressure and early morning workouts. Serena thrived in Stanford's fast-paced environment. She was no longer the girl who sat in the back of the classroom, hoping the teacher wouldn't call on her. She sat in the front row, her hand frequently raised, her logic sharp and flawless. By late November, the air had cooled, and the campus was preparing for the Thanksgiving break. Serena had planned to stay in California with her grandmother, but her mother called, pleading with her to come home for the annual Thanksgiving charity gala. The Hayes and Reed families had been the organizers of the event for over a decade, and her mother was desperate to show off her daughter's transformation. Please, Serena, her mother had begged over the phone. Everyone in town is talking. They think you ran away because you were ashamed. Let them see you. Let them see who you really are. Serena had sighed, looking at her reflection in the full-length mirror of her dorm room. She was wearing a simple gray hoodie and leggings, her body now a stable, healthy 110 pounds of lean muscle. All right, Mom, she had agreed. I'll come home. But I'm not staying long. The flight back to Boston was quiet. When Serena stepped off the plane at Logan International Airport, the chilly East Coast air hit her face, bringing back a rush of old memories. But she didn't feel the old anxiety. She felt like a traveler visiting a city she had long since outgrown. The night of the gala arrived. The venue was the grand ballroom of the Beacon Hill Country Club, decorated in elegant autumn gold and deep burgundy. The wealthy elite of their hometown stood in tight circles, holding glasses of champagne, their voices blending into a polite, low murmur. Nicholas Reed stood near the entrance, adjusting his black bow tie. He looked thinner than he had in high school, his eyes carrying dark circles from Sleepless nights at Harvard. Beside him, Chloe Summers was wearing a sparkling red dress that was slightly too tight, her fingers clutching his arm with an possessive grip. I don't even know why we had to come, Chloe complained, her lip pouting. The flight from Boston was so exhausting, and the people here are so old. It's a family tradition, Chloe, Nicholas said, his voice flat. He kept his eyes on the entrance. Every time the heavy oak doors opened, his heart leaped into his throat, only to sink back down when it wasn't her. Are you still looking for her? Chloe snapped, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. Nick, she's not coming. And even if she does, she probably looks different because of lighting and filters. You're letting a couple of photos ruin your entire semester. Shut up, Chloe, Nicholas said, his tone surprisingly sharp. Chloe gasped, her face flushing with anger, but before she could speak, the doors of the ballroom opened once more. A sudden hush fell over the entrance of the room. It was a gradual, sweeping silence that traveled from the door all the way to the center of the ballroom. Like a wave of cold water. Nicholas turned his head. A girl walked in, flanked by Mr. and Mrs. Hayes. She wore a backless, floor-length gown of midnight blue silk. The fabric draped elegantly over her slender frame, catching the light of the crystal chandeliers. With every step she took, her blonde hair was styled in soft, elegant waves that fell over one shoulder, leaving her delicate collarbones and the long, graceful line of her neck exposed. Her makeup was minimal, highlighting the natural, pale blue of her eyes and the light rose of her lips. And at the corner of her eye, the tiny black mole stood out like a drop of ink on porcelain. Nicholas felt his knees go weak. He actually had to reach out and grip the edge of a high-top table to steady himself. It was Serena. But she didn't look like the girl who used to hide her face behind her hair. She walked with a calm, regal grace, her head held high, a polite, distant smile on her face as older family friends immediately began to crowd around her, their faces filled with utter astonishment. Oh my God, someone whispered nearby. Is that the Hayes daughter? The one who was, you know. She's stunning. She looks like a European princess. Chloe Summers stared at Serena, her mouth slightly open, her face draining of all color. The red dress she had been so proud of suddenly felt cheap, loud, and entirely inadequate. Serena moved through the crowd with ease, exchanging polite pleasantries. She didn't look for Nicholas. She didn't look for Chloe. It was as if they didn't even exist in her world. But Nicholas couldn't take his eyes off her. The memories of her carrying him on her back when he was 6, of her leaving an umbrella on his porch in the rain, of her crying in the hallway after he called her a disgusting pig, all of it rushed back, hitting him with a wave of intense, suffocating regret. He let go of Chloe's arm and began to push his way through the crowd. Nick! Where are you going? Chloe cried out, but he ignored her. He didn't care about Chloe. He didn't care about the gala. He only knew he had to talk to her. He had to hear her voice. He had to make things right. Serena, he called out, his voice cracking slightly as he reached the edge of the circle surrounding her. The people around Serena turned, and finally, her pale blue eyes landed on him. Her expression didn't change. She didn't look angry. She didn't look pleased. Her face was as smooth and calm as a frozen lake. Nicholas, she said, her voice cool and polite, as if she were greeting a distant acquaintance she barely remembered. Hello. Nicholas stood frozen under her cool gaze. Up close, the transformation was even more devastating to his composure. Her skin was flawless, her shoulders elegant, and her posture exuded a confidence that had been completely absent during their high school years. Serena. Nicholas managed to say, his throat dry. Can we talk? Just for a minute. Somewhere quiet. The family friends surrounding Serena looked between the two of them, sensing the sudden tension, and slowly began to step back, giving them space. Serena looked at him for a long, quiet moment. Then, she took a sip of her sparkling water. I don't think we have anything to talk about, Nicholas. Please, he begged, his voice dropping to a low, desperate plea. He reached out, his hand instinctively moving to grab her wrist, just as he had done 100 times before when he wanted her to follow him. But before his fingers could touch her skin, Serena stepped back. It wasn't a sudden, panicked movement, it was a deliberate, graceful retreat that left his hand hanging in the empty air. Don't, she said softly. The single word was quiet, but it carried the weight of an iron door slamming shut. Serena, I'm sorry, Nicholas whispered, his eyes shining with unshed tears. I was an idiot. At the prom. I was just trying to show off in front of everyone. I didn't mean those things. You know me, Serena. We grew up together. I was stupid. You were, Serena agreed, her voice remaining entirely level. But you did mean them, Nicholas. You meant them because you thought I would never change. You thought I would always be the safe, quiet shadow behind you, no matter how badly you treated me. That's not true. It is true, she said. You liked having me around because my presence made you feel superior. You liked that the fat girl was obsessed with you. It fed your ego. But the moment that ego was challenged in front of your friends, you threw me to the floor like I was trash. Nicholas felt a cold sweat break out on his forehead. Every word she spoke was like a scalpel, cutting through the self-serving lies he had told himself over the past 3 months. I've spent the last 12 years of my life living for you, Nicholas, Serena continued, her voice carrying a faint, sad smile. I chose my classes for you. I changed my personality for you. I even applied to a university I didn't want to go to, just so I could keep being your shadow. But when you pushed me onto that floor, you did me the greatest favor anyone has ever done for me. Serena, please, we can start over, Nicholas pleaded, his hands trembling. I'll break up with Chloe. I'll transfer. I'll do whatever it takes. Just don't look at me like this. Like I'm a stranger. But you are a stranger, Serena said. Before Nicholas could respond, a firm, heavy hand settled onto Serena's bare shoulder. Nicholas looked up, his eyes widening in surprise. Standing beside Serena was Austin Walker. He was wearing a classic black tuxedo that emphasized his broad chest and tall, athletic frame. His dark hair was neatly styled, and his face was calm, but his eyes were sharp as flints as he looked down at Nicholas. Is there a problem here? Austin asked, his voice low and steady. Austin, Serena said, her tone instantly softening, warming in a way that made Nicholas's chest ache with jealousy. What are you doing here? I thought your flight was delayed. I took an earlier one, Austin said, his eyes never leaving Nicholas. I couldn't let you attend this thing alone. Not when I promised to be your date. He slid his arm around Serena's waist, pulling her gently against his side. Serena didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned into him, her posture relaxed, her hand resting naturally on his chest. Nicholas felt a wave of anger and humiliation wash over him. Austin? What the hell are you doing here? This is a private family event. The Hayes family invited me, Reed, Austin said calmly. And honestly, I think it's time for you to walk away. You've said enough. This is between me and Serena. Nicholas shouted, his voice rising, drawing the attention of several nearby guests. She's my neighbor. We've known each other since we were 6 years old. And you treated her like garbage for 12 of those years, Austin replied, his voice dropping to a dangerous, quiet rumble. He stepped forward slightly, his massive frame completely eclipsing Nicholas. You had your chance, Reed. You had 12 years of her loyalty, and you threw it away because you were too blind and too cowardly to appreciate it. Now, step back. Chloe Summers suddenly appeared at Nicholas's side, her face twisted in a mixture of anger and embarrassment. Nick. Stop this. Everyone is looking at us. Let's just go. She tried to pull his arm, but Nicholas shook her off, his eyes still locked on Serena. Serena. He choked out. Just tell me one thing. Did you really decline Harvard because of me? Serena looked at him. For the first time that evening, there was a flash of genuine emotion in her eyes, not anger, but a profound, quiet pity. I declined Harvard because I realized that the person I wanted to be didn't belong in your shadow, she said. I went to Stanford to find myself. And I did. She turned to Austin, her face lighting up with a beautiful, radiant smile. Let's go, Austin. The air in here is getting a bit cold. Lead the way, Austin said. They turned their backs on Nicholas and walked toward the exit, their movements synchronized, their figures cutting a striking, perfect silhouette against the golden lights of the ballroom. Nicholas stood in the center of the crowd, his arms hanging uselessly at his sides. Around him, the whispers started up again, but this time, they were directed at him. Did you see that? Nicholas Reed really messed up, didn't he? He used to treat her so badly, now look at her. Chloe Summers looked at him, her expression hardening. You're pathetic, Nick. We're done. She threw her champagne glass onto a passing tray and walked away, leaving him entirely alone in the crowd. Nicholas felt a single tear slip down his cheek. He looked toward the doors, but Serena was already gone. The girl who had carried him on her back, the girl who had loved him unconditionally, was gone forever, and he was left with nothing but the echo of his own cruel words. 1 year later. The Palo Alto evening was warm and breezy. The sky was a deep, velvet blue, dotted with bright stars that were easily visible away from the city lights. Serena stood on the balcony of her apartment, holding a mug of warm chamomile tea. She wore a comfortable cream-colored sweater and jeans. Her hair was loose, blowing gently in the wind. She was 20 pounds heavier than her lowest weight of 110, but she had never looked better. She had realized that being healthy didn't mean being as thin as possible, it meant being strong. Her body was a testament to that, toned, healthy, and full of life. Inside the apartment, the soft sounds of a jazz playlist were playing. A pair of strong arms wrapped around her waist from behind, and a chin rested gently on her shoulder. "You're thinking too loud," Austin murmured, his breath warm against her ear. He had just finished his sophomore season as the starting quarterback for Stanford, leading them to a major bowl game victory, but to Serena, he was still just the boy who had helped her up from the floor. "I was just thinking about how much can change in a year," Serena said, leaning back against his chest. "And? What's the verdict?" "I'm happy," she said softly. "Really happy." Her phone, sitting on the balcony railing, buzzed. She picked it up. It was an email notification. Subject: Congratulations. Stanford Computer Science Innovation Grant recipient. Serena's breath hitched. She opened the email. "Dear Ms. Hayes, we are pleased to inform you that your startup proposal for the AI-driven accessible education platform has been selected for the university's annual development grant of $100,000. Austin, she gasped, turning around in his arms, her eyes wide with excitement. "I got it. I got the grant." Austin's face erupted into a massive, proud grin. He lifted her off her feet, spinning her around on the balcony while she laughed, her tea spilling slightly onto the concrete. "I knew you would," he yelled, setting her down and cupping her face in his hands. "I told you, Serena. You're a force of nature. There's nothing you can't do." He leaned down and kissed her, a deep, warm kiss that tasted of happiness and a future they were building together. When they parted, Serena looked out over the sparkling lights of Silicon Valley. In her mind, she briefly pictured the cold, gray streets of Boston. She wondered what Nicholas Reed was doing. Perhaps he was still studying law, still trying to prove his worth to a world that didn't care. Perhaps he was still looking at old photos, wondering where it had all gone wrong. But the image was faint, like a scene from a movie she had watched a long time ago. She turned away from the railing, took Austin's hand, and walked back inside, closing the door behind her to shut out the cold. The past was dead. And her life was finally, beautifully, just beginning.